Hello. So some people have asked about where the budget money goes. Well, let's just look. Here's a New York Times article about New York City budget funding. And Mr. Johnson, who refers to the Speaker of the Council, pointed out that spending growth was fed by increases in revenue and added that personal income tax collections this year were higher than expected. Interesting. Well, some of this growth is due to property tax law, and by law it goes up 4% or 6% for class 2 or unlimited for commercial buildings. So that's a little bit misleading to say that the spending growth is due to increases in revenue as if it's random. That's in the law. Listen to this person, Andrew Rain, who says some prudent actions in the budget, the city's strong economy and increased revenue derives it from it represented a missed opportunity. What they, which I would replace with we, the taxpayer, should be doing with the additional revenue, and a lot of this growth is putting it in reserves. The commission estimates that a recession would reduce revenues by 20 billion over 3 years, a number that dwarfs the city's reserves. So where is all this money going? Well, let's take a look at someone else who cares about transparency. Our friend Gail Brewer, whose long-standing goal of making government transparent and reactive, moving beyond open data access to meaningful use. Well, meaningful use, let's just look at what our friend Gail is talking about. Of course, they are spending a lot of money on BoardStat and things like that, but let's see what we actually have in this open data website, which is all run by Socrata, which I think is very limited. Here's one example of what you can find if you go to these links. These are public reports. You can see that pay is the number one thing in New York City, and it's growing pretty quickly. Look at this. Gross pay. Gross pay is up to $26 billion, and that doesn't even count overtime and other. We don't even know what other means. And let's try to make sense out of this by looking at some other report. This is the number of rows in this open data uh, city payroll database. You can see that it's astronomical. How in the world is there 577,000 rows? Are there 577,000 employees? That doesn't make any sense. And it's just increasing. It's up to 590,000 rows here. Now, let's look at number of rows per agency. Now, this shows another limitation of Socrata. This data.cityofnewyork.us is really Socrata. It's just a C name to Socrata. And you'll notice that police department seems to be here twice. Well, that's impossible. There's only one police department, and it's because of faulty data that gets uploaded to the websites. So this is happening by the agency. So we download. How many people actually would do this? I don't know. But you download all these rows, 3 million rows. I guess they expect people to do that. And let's analyze what actually is happening here. It's not just here. It's all over the place. There's all kinds of duplication. So they say it's transparent. Let's go back to Gail's quote. Making it meaningful. That's the key to here. Meaningful use. Well, there's no meaning if you give us mixed up data that's all confused. And the people will not be able to understand this. First of all, no one's going to download 3 million rows unless they're very motivated. And they're not going to be able to know what to do with it. So I'm trying to show the taxpayer that it can be understood. So we'll go here and we'll see what actually is happening with these police department issues. Why does it show police department twice? And it doesn't make sense. So we'll go here, and this is what you actually have to do. There's a free repository in GitHub under civic-data and NYC payroll-research, and if you clone that repository, you'll see a file. You'll see a whole bunch of files, but here's the sloppy one. This is what the agencies are uploading into your portal. And you can see here, I don't know if you can clearly see, but there's trailing spaces here. Sometimes they upload it with trailing spaces, sometimes they upload it without trailing spaces. Well, that's going to confuse people, and it definitely confuses Socrata. So we need better data. So this is what you actually have to do, is look at this. Quit and look at if we do this and we look at this is a cleaned up version. So, but who's going to do this? I don't know. There's 640,000 rows in Department of Education pedagogical. They love these words. So let's go here and we can see more about this. And it's very troubling that this is the point where we are at, that we have to try to figure out what's going on, and the data is sloppy. So we go here and let's look at another one, which is grouped by fiscal year. So you can see the trends here. This is a cleaned up file that you probably can't do through Socrata. It's very limited. The police department's number, this is just the number of people, is at least, it hit a high in 2016, and now it's a little bit lower, right? It somehow seems, but we'd have to look at the data and see what that actually means. 5,000 less rows means there's 5,000 less data rows, right? But of course, the Department of Education never decreases, it only increases. So it's 112,000 Department of Education. But of course, if this thing gets too big, then they'll just create a new category. You can see Department of Ed paraprofessionals, Department of, there's poll workers. Definitely people should go and become poll workers. There's 30,000 of them, 40,000 of them. And look at this, fire department seems to be getting smaller. We'd have to look. Per diem, see, the Department of Ed is very smart. They can't create as many categories as possible to confuse everybody. These are just the high numbers. If you go down, you'll see that there's a lot of categories. The community board seemed to hire 2 employees. The Bronx Community Board seems to hire 3. The Brooklyn Community Board seems to hire 3. Also, now the Manhattan Community Board hires 3. The Bronx, look at this. This is just, we just have to get more information about all this stuff. And we want, as taxpayers, I think you should wake up and see what's going on in your budgets and look at the randomness of the naming conventions. Here's one, Richmond DA for some reason in lowercase. City clerk has 100 rows here, employees, I assume. Look at all this. This is really troubling, or should be investigated. It's trying to show per year what's going on. Look at that, Queens DA. How come that's all over the place? Let's look for Queens DA. Is it even in here again? No, see, that's the issue, is they keep changing the names of things. So if we just look for DA, come on. DA's in here a lot. Bronx DA. I guess they stopped tracking that. It's just random. Anyway, we want you, the taxpayer, to wake up, and then you'll see what's going on here. So please speak to your friends, speak to your, and go to this website too to see what's going on. We'd like to thank you for watching, and go to this website here which is the civic-data one. And you can download all these files yourself.